This particular picture has gone through lots of changes for a variety of reasons, and I rely on good old trusted Tippex to get me out of trouble. So this section has been Tippex several times. Ideally, I draw it in pencil and then I go over it in felt tip pen, but because of the in inverted commas the boo-boos, I've Tippex this several times in order. But what's nice is when you put the Tippex on, if you treat it like paint, bits show through. I deliberately do it so you see, look, all these little bits show through like this, and that's actually quite useful. So in a way, these things get a life of their own, and sorry, I'm just getting the ruler the right way round, because all it is I rule straight lines because although the final painting will be painted, at least if I'm starting with a straight line, it stays very, you see these poles, it's crucial that they stay straight. So now I'm going to pick a colour, and let's hope there's enough in the felt tip pen. I'm going to pick a colour to use as the background. I, of course, love oranges and reds, but I don't know how much there are. So what I'm looking for is a pen with a sufficient... This is, I think, is supposed to be a fluorescent one. Now, this would be interesting because if it's as fluorescent as they say, I can start with the fluorescent. Let's have a quick look. Permanent marker. It doesn't say on it, which is very irritating. Oh, is that there? Look, there's a yellow bit. Is that fluorescent?
Yeah, neon.
Neon. Great. So theoretically, that will show through. But the nice thing is, look, if I fill it in like this, I'm obviously going to put a darker colour over it, but it begins, this is literally the underpainting, it begins to give me the shape of the thing. So when I paint the actual background on, I've got the luxury of deciding, do I put a flat colour or do I vary it? So because we don't know how much there is in this neon, let's just hope. And this is a painless way of doing it without ruining what you've done already. And hopefully tomorrow when we lay on the background colour, because I think this subject would like a nice orangey yellow background. I think that would be rather nice. And the beauty of it is you could be a bit sloppy because, as you can see, I did actually put the make the objects with some care. So it wouldn't do to use a felt tip pen, which is going to wipe out everything I did. I'm sure there are lots out there. I mean, obviously, it's all a bit hit and miss using available materials. And bearing in mind I'm on holiday, this is all we've got to use. If I was in my full studio, we could do other things. But it's not bad, you know, and I like the way it's drying out. So I like the way that, in fact, more and more, the interesting thing is, I think it melts the black pen, which could be a useful device at some stage. And you see, I've left the horizon in pencil because that is going to be a nice misty, and because this is acrylic paper, I can reduce the pencil and then show the horizon as a colour wash. So again, the whole idea is to minimise the nasty surprises. You see, I'm looking at that and already, because once this dries, this is something that's quite interesting. Once this dries, I've got the shape of the beast, quite literally. Because it goes without saying, the interaction between background and subject is crucial. And in the old days, when I was banging out the book covers, at the height of my time doing book covers, I was doing 3 a week, you know, which technically meant you had to get 1 a day done, or, you know, day and a half, excuse me, a day and a half. So I used to get so frustrated because obviously, stupidly, I used to charge in. Quite often, I used to lay up the background colour first and then paint the object on top, which was not always a good idea. And then I would have a painting going pear-shaped, and if only I had done this. But I was too impatient. I just wanted to get on with it, get the job done. On to the next one. So I didn't want to faff around with a load of planning and things, which of course, in retrospect, was a big mistake. And in retrospect, we would have had a nice little arsenal of sketches and things, which, of course, we couldn't be psychic. One didn't know that in years to come, if I had sketches of various things, how useful they would be. So here is all this. And in fact, going back to the days when I worked on Dune, I have my original script, and that has little sketches in it that I did with Alejandro telling me what to do. And it's going to be very interesting reactivating that, opening the script, looking at the sketches, and then amplifying those into possibly a full painting of what I would have done if Alejandro had liked the idea. So as you can see, this is a very... but look, you see, it's interesting. Do you see how it catches the black of the felt pen? But that can be an asset. That's something... Everything's to do with technique. And when I hone and refine my techniques, and I love buying new materials, it's only comparatively recently that I've worked with felt tip pens. They are, of course, immensely useful in their own right. I used to be a bit snobby about people that did lots of stuff with felt tip pens. You know, I felt it was a little bit beneath my dignity and talent as an illustrator. Well, that, you know, illustrators are the world's worst painters because they're professional. Just like a professional taxi driver is one of the worst drivers on the road. It's because he has to get the punter from A to B and needs must. And that's exactly it with illustration. You want the result, and how you get it should be of not great importance. I know some illustrators buy a good quality board and they like to scratch it so the white comes through. I've always been a bit snobby about that. I like my paintings to be good old solid paint. Now, I've got to be careful here because I don't want that to smudge. But as you can see, by doing this, we've isolated all the elements because it's a complicated painting, this one. This one we will definitely do as a full main painting. Maybe something ridiculous like 4 feet by 6 feet, because I'm starting to paint bigger and bigger now, partly because the eyes aren't that good anymore. So it's crucial to get all your elements in the right place. I'm working on a big painting at the moment, and it's been like trench warfare. It's been forwards and backwards, painting stuff in, painting it out, putting an overlay on to see if we can get it to work. And so, again, if only I planned the damn things, you've got a piece of artwork that works, and you've got, you see, I'm getting quite excited because you can use a technique whereby you use the felt tip pen not to put on solid colour, because he almost, dare I say it, poor man, I shouldn't mention him in, doing stuff like this, but Van Gogh style, I always loved the way Van Gogh had that sort of, the way he dashed the paint on. You look at a landscape, and of course the whole thing, you can almost see the heat, the heat of a Provençal landscape in the middle of the day with it dancing up and down, but he used to stipple his paint, and so in a way, that's exactly what I'm doing. You have the objects throwing out an energy, and by using the felt tip pen around them, you can have them gain their place, bid for their place in the painting. And so in a minute this will all be done, and we can look at it for a second just to see what it's looking like. And I like to leave, because the light is going now, so I like to leave a painting that I want to see what it's doing in the morning. In the old days, I used to work till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Now, I prefer to work with natural light, and once the light goes, that really is it. And it does make for a healthier life, and probably it's kinder to the eyes. So what you do is, as the light is going, you've got this discipline that you're going to leave your painting in such a way that you want to see what you've got in the morning. The first thing you do, you get up, you make a cup of coffee, and you come and look at the picture to see. That's it. I've lived in France for 30 years or something, not all the time, and a legend that fascinates me, allegedly, and I think it's true, because if you travel across France you will see this, the graveyards are always placed so that when the sun is setting, when the rays of the sun touch the walls of the graveyard, then the people in the fields know that it's time to go home. And I like to think I use that technique a bit. So look, the sun is just touching the mountains down there. So now we know it's time to pack up for the day.